Good afternoon, Grandmaster.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Well, we were going to talk about something kind of special today, and going back to when you were training in the martial arts as a young guy, and you went up to Michigan State and trained up there. And one of the things I've heard you say a lot over the years is that it was really good to be exposed to different kinds of martial arts up there that you hadn't been before. Can you kind of explain why, or?
Well, when martial arts were so different back in the early 1970s when I began training, because you didn't have access to material like you do now. And now martial arts are all over the place. The TV shows, the bookstore, you see, for example, how popular it is in television commercials. But everybody's seen all the martial art movies, and you just got total access to information, and it was so different back then. Now, the culture within the martial arts was different too, because styles were really kind of secretive and didn't share openly between styles. And I think it was pretty common that you were taught that your style was the best style, and you were really discouraged from looking around. And that was fine, because I really enjoyed what we did. But when I went to Michigan State in 1974 and began training at the MSU Karate Club with Bruce Henderson, there were people from all over the world, martial artists from every conceivable style. And it was really good, certain parts of that. And this was a heavy-duty sparring kind of emphasis. And so to be able to develop sparring skills with people who thought in a totally different way about sparring was really good. And we also did forms from other styles all the time. Now, I will mention that in a lot of ways, it pointed me back to where I started. Like I said, you didn't have access to a lot of information, but somehow I got my hands on a Kung Fu book. And on my own, I began to study from that book. And I'll say began because I didn't stick with it very long. And as an example, what this book taught was the horse stance. And it mentioned that the way to begin to learn this particular kind of Chinese Kung Fu was to get in the horse stance, a lot like the horse stance that we teach, but that you would spend an hour a day in that horse stance. And I think they wanted you to do that for like 10 years before you learned the first technique. And so some of the things that I found when I got out there and started looking around reinforced my love of what we did. Taekwondo was a real rock and roll kind of martial art, and I was a real rock and roll kind of kid. And so it lined up really well with me. It was not an esoteric approach where you sat in a horse stance for 10 years. It was about trying to fly through the air as quickly as you could learn how to do, so you could kick somebody in the head. What we learned, Taekwondo Chandokwon, we were thought of as headhunters, and that was because of the high kicks. And if you think about being in a school that sparred all the time, it took on a real specific meaning there too. And so my early training was I was so blessed to be able to get out there and see martial arts from around the world, and to have that at the same time lead me back home to where I started.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome story, sir.
Thanks.